Hello and welcome to Run It Back on the Raptors Republic Network. I'm Zolfi Sheikh here, joined by Cody Wiles, no Kyle Ramnarine this week. I know we brought us all back together last time, but unfortunately, life and work does come in the way sometimes. So it'll be me and Cody holding it down. How are you doing this week, Cody?
I'm doing great. I am a little sick, so you might hear it in my voice or whatnot. It's a bit nasally, but should be all right. I'm in a new I've moved officially. So
Oh
we got
yeah.
you got the Vince Carter replica banner hanging up behind me. So we're moving. We're moving into bigger and better things, and we're still here talking about the Raptors.
I like it. Well, we appreciate you grinding, even though you are under the weather. I will say, did you move in like the same building? Your background looks kind of the same, just like it's
Oh,
like
does it?
moved down almost. It looks
Yeah.
similar to me.
Oh no, it's different. It's different for sure.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, obviously, the Raptors are what we are here to talk about. And Cody, the season is closing rapidly. We're in the final stretch of games. And throughout the last 7 days, there was a lot of news for the Raptors, but there was a bit of game action as well. The Raptors went 1-3 throughout the week, starting with 3 straight L's to the Bulls, Blazers, and Pistons before going to Brooklyn and beating down on the tanking Nets. So all in all, for the Raptors this week, they finished 1-3 and are now 29-50 on the season, still 11th in the East and 7th in the lottery standings to just catch everyone up. And if you weren't aware, the Raptors' magic number in the reverse standings stays at 1, meaning if the Raptors pick up one more win or the Nets lose one more game, they can't go any higher than the 7th best odds, which means they can't get up to 6th, 5th, whatever. And on the other side, if the Raptors lose one more game or the Spurs win, they can't drop any further than 7th, so you wouldn't be at risk of falling into 8th and whatnot in that case. So again, the magic number stays at 1. But with that being said, we will get into our weekly takeaways, breaking down the action. But we're also going to talk about a couple of injury updates when it comes to some Raptors players, and then preview the final week of Raptors action. Before we get into it, please be sure to leave a like on this video, comment if you have any thoughts on this last week of action, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the other content when it comes to Raptors Republic. Even if the season's coming to the end, the draft is nearing. The draft lottery, I believe, is only a month away, so we'll finally see where the Raptors land and who they can pick. And then we're obviously going to be talking about that, and so is everybody else at Raptors Republic. But with that being said, Cody, let's just talk about this week of action. Again, a 1-3 week for the Raptors. Obviously, they're still going through the back and forth when it comes to lineup. Some guys resting, some guys not. You saw Scotty Barnes got a couple games off because of this lingering hand injury that we talked about last week. So I guess, where do you kind of see this team right now? Like, what stood out to you from this last week?
I think it's just been the rookies, right? And we could go right to the last game they played against the Brooklyn Nets. Jonathan Mobo was fantastic. 17 points, 11 rebounds, first career double-double. That was a game high 17 points and a game high 11 rebounds. He was great. He is really starting to put things together towards the end of the year, which out of the main guys between Jamal Shead, Jacoby Walter, and himself, he was the one that kind of got more of that G League run. You know what I mean? He was maybe falling behind to the other two, showing less things at the NBA level. But over his last 7 games, he's been really well, he's been really good, especially putting things together offensively. 10.5 points, 3.5 assists, 6.5 rebounds, nearly a steal and a block over the last 7 as well. Offensively, he is starting to put together some things. He's having a really strong finish. And then defensively, he's always been there, right? Switchable, obviously uber athletic, as you see, moves around the floor really well. So now that he's starting to catch up to the other guys as well, this rookie class, man, is looking the Raptors did well.
Yeah, like I want to touch on Mo specifically in a second, but I think that's what I want to take out of not just this last week, but hopefully this season. Like, for the most part, this is going to be a pretty forgettable season for the Raptors. Obviously, barring whatever happens in the draft lottery, if they end up jumping to first, everyone's going to remember the season for that. But otherwise, it's probably not going to be a season that people are going to really look back on as kind of like changing a lot for the complexion of this franchise organization. Again, you can point to the Brandon Ingram trade. That is something people remember, but it's not exactly the actual basketball of it all. But the rookies, I think, have the opportunity to be the lasting memory from this campaign. And I think in a way, it's a bit of a course correction for the Raptors. We've talked about it. The last couple of drafts, pretty much since post-championship and even before, the only really, the draft picks of consequence for this team were Grady Dick and Scotty Barnes, which were, again, in the last couple of years. No other draft pick has really panned out for this team. And it's looking like this 2024 rookie class, even if you go to undrafted guy like Jamison Battle, like it's just looking like they have a chance to stick around and be like lasting players on this team. And we don't know to what level, like we don't know what the ceilings of these guys are. We're still figuring that stuff out. But at least it seems like they have the opportunity to, which is very important from a player development standpoint. And also just like roster construction, we've talked about it. This team is financially top heavy. They are committed a lot to these core top 3, 4, 5 guys. So having fringe, like I guess rotation players, starters, even almost in some cases, that are on rookie scale deals is going to be important for this team to try to be competitive next year and beyond. So I think that is a very positive thing. And on Mobo specifically, Cody, I think you hit the nail on the head that like he is just seeming a lot more comfortable post G League stint. He had that nasal fracture that kind of took him out for a bit, but since he's been back and kind of getting those reps consistently, you said it, this touch is getting better. He's averaging around 10 points a game over his last 10. And then the biggest thing that a lot of people have talked about, and you touched on, Cody, is his finishing. In the last 5 games in the restricted area, he's almost up to 70%, which is like almost an 11% jump from where he is on the season. So just his ability to finish confidently, to find a touch when it comes to like going around contact, through contact, all that stuff is starting to kind of round into form a little bit. Again, you can put it into context. They're not playing the stiffest competition. We understand that. But just for a rookie to build that confidence, to get those reps, to find that touch, I think is super important. And just that game was indicative of what we want from this rookie class. Jamal Shed, a career-high 12 assists. I think he's the second Raptors rookie ever to get over 300 assists, aside from Damon Stoudemire. Jamison Battle, he only had 12 points in that game. Yeah, sure. But he only played like 19 minutes, and all 12 of those points came in the first half. Jacoby Walter wasn't scoring a ton, but he was great on the defensive end. He was doing things on both ends of the floor. So I think just this group is showing that, like, yes, this is an end of season where wins don't matter as much, but that's kind of what this Raptors team has kind of preached all year, is they want to focus on development. And if you come out of this, I guess, end of season stretch with these guys feeling good going into next year, I think you take that as a win.
Yeah, I want to go back to a couple things you said, because you brought up some really good points, specifically with Mobo. He's just being more aggressive and just wanting to look for opportunities to score more offensively. We talked about it when he was with the G League with the 905. He just didn't even look like he wanted to score and was really timid on offense. And now you can see he's getting more comfortable and he's putting the ball in the hoop, like 17 points. I didn't think Mobo was ever going to get up to that amount of points this year, but he's done it. And then you brought up another point that I think it was great. Like it hit the nail on the head, is that they're so expensive up top. They're basically locked into their roster. They needed to hit on almost all these guys, and they have. And all these guys can play a role going into the future. Mobo, as we've been talking about, can be this switchy defender, can protect the rim a little bit and play finish on offense. We'll see what else comes along with that for subsidiary skills. Jamal Shed, perfect backup point guard, I think. No, especially if he's going to hit the three. Basically, since the start of March, he's been really good. 31% from three, which is a 19-game sample here since the start of March. You'd like to see it go up more than that, but that's already an improvement from college. 10.5 points, nearly 6 assists. He's been passing the ball super well. 1.5 steals, 2.5 rebounds. I don't see why he can't be a backup point guard on a really good team. He's a big culture guy too. The players love him. He's such a energetic, fun guy, seemingly to be around. So he's been great. And then Jacoby Walter, over his last 10, he's been scoring and shooting 45.5% from three over his last 10. Now, he missed some games in between that, but he's been absolutely lighting it up from three, 13.5 points, nearly 3 assists, over 4 rebounds, and again, 1.5 steals. One of the most impressive things to me is his digging. He digs in so well defensively, Jacoby. He has good length, and he can hit shots. So he's kind of the 3-and-D guy off the bench. Momo's kind of that switchier defender off the bench. Jamal Shed's the 3-and-D point, can play make a little bit, get in your face as a culture guy. Like, all these guys are perfect at almost all 3 positions to be great backups. And if we want to talk about Jamison Battle, again, another shooter off the bench. Ora Shamshe, I think, has potential to be a backup big man. So this draft class has really been about solidifying the back end of your long-term rotation. And like you said, who knows what the ceiling on these guys are? I'm just saying this is at least the base of it. And then this next draft class, maybe you get a top pick. You're hoping that can provide a little more juice, but they actually smashed it out of the park with this draft class, and that comes as no surprise. But they've all shown great things, and they've all been fantastic, in my opinion.
Yeah, again, I go back to like this could be the silver lining of this season, and just like if you look at it, like you broke it down really well, Cody, about like what all these guys have to offer. And in a normal season, when all these injuries didn't happen early, and all of the, I guess the lineup shenanigans, for lack of a better term, didn't happen late, like you probably wouldn't have seen all these rookies play together as much as they have. Because again, like Jamison Battle could be a bit of a gadget guy. Jonathan Mobile the same way. He could slot in maybe in the small ball spot in the wing position to kind of get those reps. But like you probably see them in their own spot minutes. But the fact that there were so many injuries early, that you got to see those guys play together, to get starts, to kind of just go as a group, and then again, towards now the end of the season, you're really seeing them gel as a unit, I think is a positive to come out of all of the negatives that have happened throughout the year, because otherwise you'd be seeing it just in the G League. And I know taking them away from those G League reps kind of hurt the 905 team, but for them to get those kind of experiences together at the NBA, I think is going to be really good for his team in the long run. And like you said, it's going to be able for next year when they get to gel as a second unit, it's going to be great. Like, yes, this isn't a bench mob 2.0. That bench mob team, like in 2016, 2017, they were like top 5 in scoring off the bench. These guys are like the Raptors bench unit this year, I think is like 12th. So it's not the same thing right now, but these are all rookies, right? So next year, when you get more experience under your belt, and then you've already been able to do it together as a unit in the NBA, I think it's just going to kind of propel them even further. And like you said, the Raptors had to do well with this draft class. And for them to come out of it with as many guys as they did in a class that was quote unquote weaker or flatter or whatever you want to call it, I think just shows that kind of Messiah and this front office still have their fastball a little bit. And it makes me feel better about this upcoming draft, like regardless of if they get a top pick or not.
Yeah, no, they did great. They hit on everything they needed to. Let's see what they can do and continuing to build forward, because I mean, there isn't many like roster spots up for grabs. They've hit on everybody now, and they've locked in so much. Like, there's legitimately like maybe 2 roster spots up for grabs next season, like in general. So if you're counting the first and second round pick as they get spots next year as well, like it's the teams. The team is the team, and they're just going to continue to build, and especially next year with higher expectations. Maybe we can get into. It looks like we're not going to see Brandon Ingram this season. The news is coming out about that, so it's gonna be fun to see all these guys together next season as well after a full summer. Like, even for somebody like Jacoby, his training camp was interrupted, and he probably has the highest ceiling. I mean, Jacoby's had a stop-start season all year, but he probably has the highest ceiling. So another summer for him to fully develop and get stronger is going to do wonders. And we'll see how the team meshes, but there's going to be expectations next year. So let's see how all these guys rise up.
Yeah, I think that's a really good place to end it on, a really good point, because like you said, there's going to be expectations. So it's somebody may or may not get squeezed out by an upcoming rookie, depending on how high they're drafted and how well they're playing, or even like, let's look at Jacoby Walter, Grady Dick, Ochai, all these guys who play similar positions and areas. Like, you're going to have to step up, because if not, there's somebody else waiting to kind of jump into that position. And for a up and coming team that's trying to get back into their competitive window, it's a great thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a good thing. You want that. You want guys to feel a bit of pressure and kind of breed that culture of competitiveness that you want out of a good team. So it'll be fun to see and kind of see how they go from here. But all in all, the rookie class is something hopefully we're going to look back positively on. But to jump from, we'll get to Brandon Ingram in a second, Cody, but to jump from rookies to a sophomore, there was news on the Grady Dick front. If you weren't aware, Grady Dick has been officially shut down for the season. He's basically been out since early March. He took a hard spill against Orlando Magic, and he's been ruled out with a bone bruise to his knee. And Darko Rajakovic earlier in the week basically said that Grady Dick is done for the year. And just to kind of like sum up how his season went, for the most part, he played 54 games. He averaged around 14.5 points, 3.6 rebounds, just under 2 assists, 35% from the three-point line. For a bit of added context, I kind of looked into it as well. Amongst sophomores, these were where he ranked. He was 5th in scoring. He was 4th in three-point makes per game with just over 2, 7th in minutes. Obviously, the start of the season, he was playing many more minutes than he did as the season went on. And then he was 25th in three-point percentage, again at 35%. If you kind of filter that to like a minimum of like 50 games, and he jumps into like the top 5 amongst second-year guys, obviously because of the volume and stuff. But overall, Cody, I guess it was a bit of an interesting season for Grady because, again, with the early injuries, he was basically the number 2 scoring option for a lot of that start of the year behind RJ Barrett. But as the season went on, things dwindled a little bit, whether it's fatigue or whatnot. And then just injuries got in the way for him later on as well. So, like, I guess, what do you make of this second season from Grady Dick?
Good. Check. Solid. Progression as it should be. I was media at the Pistons game where pregame Darko. That's when he came out and basically said, "Yeah, Grady's going to be shut down for the year," and he said in that the start of the year was great. He was fantastic. He was doing his thing, but for somebody who's a 20-year-old, I believe he's 20 or 21, to maintain that sort of performance throughout the whole season is a lot to ask. And that Darko himself said that wasn't the expectation, was to maintain that throughout the whole season. So I think he showed the potential of what he could do offensively, but he took a hard hit against Orlando. He took a shot to the face from Cole Anthony and then had RJ Barrett fall into his leg simultaneously. It was a rough one, and it just Darko basically said, yeah, he's going to be out. No point in rushing him back. I'm not sure if he could have played or whatnot, but he's been held out for basically since then, basically over a month now. So, Darko also said just continuing to work on his body and continue to come back stronger for next season. And then who knows, maybe he sustains that high-end play for a period of time. Again, with Brandon Ingram in the mix now, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of role he fits into. This year was a good chance for him to explore a lot more, and he did, and it was really good at some points, and it was not so good. It basically got worse as the year went on, but he got, again, those reps to explore. Like, we'll talk about the rookies getting reps. Grady Dick would like some reps as well, you know what I mean? So
for sure,
he was able to show his thing and do his thing, a more offensively oriented package. And again, it's just going to be, I think he's going to fall back into a more traditional shooter role next season, just because of they need somebody to play off the ball. Like they've seen he can have a little bit of juice on ball now, which would be great, attacking second side closeouts, getting ran off the line and doing things like that. He's already a great cutter. So him playing off the ball is going to be great, with Brandon Ingram being able to create more for him. It should be good. It should, what is it? I guess return the mean, something like that.
Regress to the mean, I think is the phrase, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think
I don't know math well.
Neither do I. That's what I was asking you. Sink back into a more role that he's more comfortable with, and maybe a good extended period of play can be extended throughout the whole season. That's at least my hope for Grady. Again, he has all the time in the world. 20 years old. He's played a year and a half, really. So it's been, he's been, I'm excited for the future. No concerns for me.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. The point you made about kind of just like settling back into a more consistent, or like, I guess, more practical role for him. I've said it all year, and I think we've all kind of looked at it a little bit, where like Grady's game scales well, like when it needs to. Like in the beginning of the season, like Darko mentioned, like you mentioned, like when he was that number 2 option, he was able to do some really fun, positive stuff. But he's also very comfortable being that, like, again, that off-ball wing player who can kind of attack, close out, so we can kind of spot up, do those extra things in an offense. But at the end of the day, like, just being as a second-year guy, just being able to sustain that higher level, like a scale play, is difficult. Like, just honestly, for anyone it would be, but for especially the style that Grady plays, he's always been near the tops of the league when it comes to like distance traveled and stuff like that. He's always moving off the ball so much. And again, being a second-year guy, being a bit more slender in frame, that's a lot to ask. If you even just go back to his rookie season, just conditioning and being able to sustain that has been his thing. They did that conditioning stint for a reason. So like to kind of like expect it to just go from 0 to 100, even if it can in bursts and in moments, I don't think is what the Raptors wanted. Like you said, Cody, was never the expectation. So for him, it's just always going to be about like finding where exactly he fits into this space, and can he do it more consistently rather than having those like couple game bursts. Like even like you saw when he freshened up a little bit and he went into the Rising Stars game, he was awesome. He was arguably the best player in that whole tournament. Like aside from a couple other guys, like maybe Keontae George. So like what Grady's ceiling is, what he has to offer, but it's like, can he keep that consistently? Can he keep that at a point where like the lows aren't as low? That's pretty much it. Like you just kind of want those dips not to be as bad. And I think this is a stepping stone to head in that direction. Again, I also think the competition of next season, guys behind him and around him, are going to make that a bit more of a point of emphasis too. So like you said, it's a check and check for the most part. You kind of hope to see where he goes from here, and then if he can kind of build consistency upon that. But overall, again, he jumped, like his scoring jumped like 6 points a game. His minutes went up too. Like he made progression. So you can't knock a guy in his second year to make a leap to that degree, to be like, again, all over the leaderboards when it comes to sophomore players, especially with all the injuries and stuff that he faced.
Yeah, real quick. Darko continually hammers. He needs to continue to work on his body. Like that is the conditioning, the strength. That's the biggest thing for him. He says a lot of the same thing about Jacoby Walter, but those guys have the frame. When you see them like up close, those guys have the frame to put on muscle, especially Grady.
Yeah.
And they that's just been the thing that Darko's been hammering. That'll help Grady specifically on the defensive side as well, which I think when it gets really low for Grady is because when he's not hitting shots, right, the defense isn't there yet. So it looks bad when it's not going, but I think just continuing to work on those bodies, continuing to put in work in the offseason, everything that we've heard is great workers. That's from Darko himself. So I have full confidence that it's going to continue to grow. And like you said, 6 points more. He damn near played 30 minutes a game this season. He's going to be all right, I think.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the biggest things for him. Like you're confident in him, you think it's going to happen, but that's going to be another thing we didn't touch on a lot is the defensive side. I think that's honestly one of the things that really separates him and Jacoby right now. When the shot isn't going for Jacoby, you still know he's a bit more wiry on the defensive end versus where Grady doesn't have that yet. But super quick, we're going to move on to Brandon Ingram, but I did want to ask you this about Grady, and that kind of speaks to what I just said. Coming into the year, there was this idea, or maybe it was around the trade deadline. There was that report from Michael Grange where he said Scotty Barnes is untouchable, but he also included Grady Dick in that. Again, the sources from the front office talked about how Grady and Scotty are the two untouchables. Would you still have that sense, or would you, if you were in that front office, would you still feel that way about Grady after this?
I mean, untouchable is such a
strong word.
Grady shouldn't be untouchable. He shouldn't. But
fair.
But again, like Scotty technically shouldn't be untouchable because if Luka Doncic is available or stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like there's better players.
If the bar is Luka being available, then everyone would be, yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm being a little funny with that one, but I mean, I don't know. I think why he's considered in that group is because of how well he theoretically fits with Scotty Barnes, and he's the perfect player alongside Scotty. He's the best shooter on the team, probably movement-wise at least, and he has size. Just needs to clean up the edges of his game. He has a little on-ball juice. He's athletic. I can see why they wouldn't want to trade him. Untouchable is strong to me, but I'm certainly not giving Grady Dick up for anything less than a really good player coming back as a part of the package.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's a good way to put it. Well, let us know in the comments below. What do you think? What did you make of Grady Dick's second season? Do you believe he's untouchable, or do you think he's somebody that the Raptors, again, if there's a player to be squeezed out, would it be Grady? What would you be willing to give up? Just share your thoughts on that front. But Cody, we do also have another update. We've kind of alluded to it. After it seemed that Brandon Ingram was basically nearing full contact, I think it was before the Pistons game, Darko Rajakovic hinted that Brandon Ingram was progressing very well, nearing full contact, and there was this glimmer of hope that maybe throughout these last couple of games that Brandon Ingram could play in one or two of them, but it doesn't appear that's going to be the case. According to TSN's Josh Lewenberg, Rajakovic and the team held Ingram out of practice. It is their last home practice of the season, and that you should probably expect BI to be shut down for the rest of the year. Again, the Raptors do just have 3 games left, so it wasn't likely to begin with. But, like, I guess, what do you make of this? Do you think it's the right call, not disappointed otherwise? Like, just your general thoughts on this idea that, like, it seems all but a surety at this point that Brandon Ingram is not going to play for the Raptors this year.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen him play, of course, especially with, like you mentioned, that they're Raptors are pretty much locked into the 7th best odds. Like it would take a lot here for them to not be that. So I just wanted to see him play, but I can understand them wanting, to come with a fresh slate for him and everybody through summer and training camp. But Darko again, April 4th, when I was at the Pistons game, told us pregame right after saying Grady was done for the year, that the hope was for BI to be cleared for full contact this week. And then, of course, at this practice, that doesn't happen. So I would say, he's going to be done for the year. There's 3 games left. One's tomorrow, and he's not even practicing. 122 days with an ankle sprain. That's a third of a year.
He's been hurt. He was hurt before he joined the Raptors. It's not even like it was like when he joined, he was dealing, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like weeks before he left the Pelicans, he was already battling this ankle injury.
Yeah, December 7th is when his last time he played.
So so like that's basically 2 months before the trade deadline, which is like February 6th. So like that's crazy.
Yeah, we all kind of know what's going on there, right? There's really not much more else to say. Would have liked to have seen him play. Obviously, he's super exciting. We're both big proponents of this is a W trade. I don't know why people don't like this. I would have loved to have seen him play. I would have loved to just have gotten more data with Ingram alongside Scotty Barnes, but I guess we're just going to have to wait till next year, Z.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think they're kind of like pushing all the marbles or their chips ahead to next season, this Raptors front office. But I'm with you. Like, I guess maybe the right word's disappointed. Again, you're not mad or really upset about it for the most part. I think on court wise, there wasn't a ton to gain from Brandon Ingram playing maybe a game or two. It would just have been nice for the fan base. I think, truthfully, that's where I was at. Like, for a season that's been so up and down, like I said, it's probably going to be forgettable. If they could have at least seen the guy on the court to give them a glimmer of hope, again, just to see that, again, mid-range shot creation, that pull-up shooting that we just haven't had for many other players on this roster, to see Brandon Ingram show what he's going to do for this team next year. I think for a fan base that's kind of looking to be excited about something, it would have been very nice. But for on the on-court basketball, I don't think 1 or 2 games at the end of the season is going to kind of really help be a building block of any kind for the Raptors. So ultimately, I don't think it was the wrong call, but I will say I am disappointed about it, and I think fans may or may not agree. Let us know down below what you think. If you're disappointed by this, do you think it makes sense, and if it's worth it? And if not, tell us why. But now, Cody, we do still have a couple games left. I know it feels like the season's already pretty much over. The Raptors are out of the playoff mix, as we are well aware, but there is 3 games left, and we are going to obviously preview this action. So that being said, let's take a look at next week's schedule. Again, like we said, 3 games left for the Raptors. They start with their final home game of the year at Scotiabank Arena, which, like Cody mentioned, is tomorrow on Wednesday. They take on the Charlotte Hornets, and then they visit the Mavericks on Friday and end the season against the Wembley-less Spurs on Sunday. And then that's it. That is it for the Toronto Raptors this year. Obviously, crazy that we've gotten to this point. We're at the end of the season. So, Cody, 3 games left, only 1 at home, which is happening tomorrow. What are you looking for?
Just, I feel like I've said this. This has been my answer every week, but I truly don't know what else to even say. It's just watching the rookies, like just getting more data on them, watching them. I think what you brought up is a great point of them not just playing individually and getting the minutes, but playing together and knowing that these are all part of the core going forward. I think that's going to be huge. All 3 of these teams that they're playing are decimated by injuries. So it's, again, that's kind of been you got to put a little, what's with me today? I don't even know what I'm saying.
An asterisk?
Yes. An asterisk
there we go.
Against, some of the numbers that the rookies are putting up against these teams, because the Raptors have had an uncontrolled, such an easy schedule to end the year. But just seeing them continue to play and look good, I think is the only thing you can look forward to. But it sucks that, it was supposed to be against 2 decent teams here at the end against the Mavericks and Spurs, but that's just not how it's going to play out. But yeah, seeing them play is what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. Like, my only real notes for what I was looking forward to is finish strong and finish healthy. Like, you obviously don't want a freak injury towards the end of the season for any of these guys. Finish strong. I always want to kind of root for opportunity for some of the end of bench fringe guys. we didn't really talk about him throughout this, but Cole Swider, he was signed for the rest of the season. Good for him after his 10-day expired. His shooting is finally starting to kind of translate to the NBA level that you wanted. Again, he's a 40+% three-point shooter in the G League. That wasn't happening with the Raptors. That hasn't really happened in any of his other stints. But his last 2 games, he's hit 4 threes in both. He's really come to form in that sense. Again, Jared Rhoden, I keep tweeting about it. I'm sure you're looking for it too, Cody, just rooting for this guy to go out there and play. So seeing those guys, but besides that, selfishly, and I will say very selfishly, I want this team to win 2 games. The reason why is because their over-under, I think, was 30.5. And I picked the over to start the year. I was part of like a round table discussion, and I picked the over. I get chirped about it constantly by some of the people that I work with. So I just want to say it's there. And look, like you said, Cody, they're virtually locked into 7 best odds. Mathematically, they're obviously not there, but I don't think 2 wins is going to drop them any further. So just to know I maybe did make some sense and I'm not always an idiot. Again, emphasis on always. If they win 2 more games and they hit the over, I'll be happy just because I can have my cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I put a prediction out on Twitter too, and I can't find it. I meant to find it for this podcast, but I'll have to go toot my own horn. But I know it was like low 30s, so I think I'm pretty close as well myself. But specifically on Swider, just wanted to. I'm glad you brought him up just to touch on it. Yeah, signed for the rest of the year, and he put together his best game the game after he got signed with the Brooklyn Nets or against the Brooklyn Nets. 12 points, 8 rebounds, 4 of 6 from 3. Like I mentioned, I was at that the Pistons game, watching him warm up. The guy didn't miss a shot. Z.
He can shoot, yeah.
He's a professional shooter. His footwork is amazing. His body control is great. He's got really good size at 6'8". It's just when the shot is not going in, what does he bring? He's had some turnover issues to start with the Raptors here, but I mean, I like him. I liked Colin Castleton. I thought they were going to give Colin Castleton the rest of the season, but clearly they're valuing some more shooting instead of the big men, because I think Orlando Robinson has shown some things as well. He's another guy. Like, look at all the guys we're talking about, Z. AJ Lawson, we didn't even bring up. Jared Rhoden, Orlando Robinson, all the 5 rookies. Like, these are all the end of bench spots that I'm comfortable with all these players being in end of bench spots next season. Like, I don't know how much of a roster battle there's going to be next year, which for the Raptors, there's always been a roster battle for the last handful of years. So I have real excitement going into next year. I can't wait. It's crazy that we only have 3 games left. It's already done. This is the last time we're doing a look ahead on one of these, but I have real excitement for next year, and I think a lot of the fan base does as well.
Yeah, as they should. Again, there's a lot to be optimistic about. Like, it's one of those things where, like, yes, you wanted this team to hit the reset button, the rebuild, retool, whatever you want to call it. They did that last season with their fire sale. They kind of are in the process of rejigging and figuring it out as you go. But, like, they've made it clear they didn't want this fan base to have to sit through 4, 5, 6 years of this. So next year is really going to be, like, I guess, step 1 of turning the corner. And that's a reason to be excited. That's a reason to kind of be looking forward to this team being competitive again, trying to be relevant in the Eastern Conference playoff picture to whatever degree it is. So with the guys that we see here who are kind of fighting towards these last couple of games, proving themselves, and even the core guys who have shown throughout the year what their development has been like, I think there's a lot of reasons for optimism when it comes to this Raptors team, even if there are question marks and uncertainties. I think it's fair to say both those things exist. There is uncertainty whether it's financially, whether it's a player's ability to kind of take a leap next year to whatever degree that is. But at the same time, there is plenty of optimism as well. And at the end of the day, there's still 3 games left. These players are going to have a bit more opportunity to prove themselves and show this fan base what they can offer, whether it's for just the rest of the season, whether it's moving forward. We're going to find out in a bit. But when it comes to us, that pretty much does it for this week. We want to thank everyone for tuning in to another edition of Run It Back. But it's with the regular season being over now, we kind of want your help here. Let us know what you want to see from myself, Cody, and Kyle for the rest of the off season, throughout the off season, whether that's stuff like player reviews, draft coverage. Again, the draft lottery is May 12th. The draft is going to be after that. Do you want to see us getting into draft coverage a little bit? If you have any ideas of what you'd like us to cover throughout the off season, please let us know. We're obviously working on some ideas ourselves, and we'll be talking about that shortly. But in the meantime, give us your thoughts, what you want to see. But we'll obviously be back next week to recap the final week of Raptors regular season action. And until then, please make sure to subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel to get your daily fix of coverage. It obviously goes a long way. We want to continue to build the Raptors Republic community as we get excited for next season. Like Cody said, a lot of optimism. So we want people ready and excited for that. And don't forget, your number one spot for daily Raptors news, analysis, and opinions is still RaptorsRepublic.com. But with that being said, please have a great week, folks. For myself, Cody, and Kyle, we'll see you next time when we run it back. Peace.